There are some very significant implications that Kenyans need to pay close attention to concerning the latest Amos Wako manenos. In case you have not heard, on Monday 18th November 2019, the United States Secretary of State, Michael Pompeo, issued a travel ban on a Kenyan involved in significant corruption, or so they claimed. And the person they named was Busia Senator and former AG, Amos Wako. Yeah. Now, the immediate reaction of most Kenyans, quite rightly so, was to ask if indeed the Americans have something against the BBI. Because Amos Wako is a prominent member of the Building Bridges Initiative team set up by the handshake principles, to bring about change, in Kenya's constitution. Now, kindly excuse the background noise. Most parts of East Africa are currently being showered with the blessings of rain. And so it is not somebody taking a shower as I make this recording. Anyway, let's proceed. Now, concerning the Building Bridges Initiative and the Americans, actually, there's a link, and I'll come to that towards the tail end of this video, so stick around. Now, according to the American government, this was supposed to be a strong signal, of the solid support the Americans have towards fighting corruption in Kenya. Now, that was very strange, bordering on the bizarre, and I'll tell you why. We have numerous scandals, corruption scandals in Kenya, where the Kenyan taxpayer has lost billions, billions bordering to the trillions of shillings. And many of these scams have involved big people in the Kenyan government. NYS, the dam scandal, etc., etc. And the Americans skip all those, and then they name Amos Wako. Now, to many Kenyans, that is in fact a strong signal that the Americans are not serious about fighting corruption in Kenya. And this has got nothing to do with whether Amos Wako is guilty or not. In fact, in this instance, the Americans are becoming more Kenyan than Kenyans themselves. How so? So you know the Kenyan habit, where somebody steals billions of shillings, in a corrupt deal, and then the government says we are still investigating. 10 years later, we are still investigating. And then meanwhile, the government is very fast to pounce on a chicken thief, and that chicken thief is jailed immediately for stealing one chicken. Stealing a chicken, even if you're very hungry, is still stealing. But I'm sure you get my point. So, what is really going on here? Now, let me start by dismissing the view by quite a lot of Kenyans that the Americans do not seem to have enough information. They went around in their records and they saw that the only documented person they could come up with immediately was Amos Wako. Because all the allegations against the former AG are based on the period when he served as AG of the Republic of Kenya, which was between 13th May 1991 and 26th August 2011, a period of roughly 20 years. And I must admit that any casual observer may be quick to agree with this view. Because, for instance, in early 2009, during the Obama administration, the Americans came out with a statement and said that they were about to ban a senior official in the Kibaki administration from traveling to the United States. And there was a lot of speculation, and a lot of people thought that that individual would be the then agricultural minister, William Samoei Ruto. But when the name of the so-called senior government official was finally released, it was that of Joshua Kulei, who had never been a senior government official in his life, and indeed was not even an official of the Kibaki administration. Oops, all these Africans look the same. Yeah, it's easy to confuse them. Nothing like that. The truth is, there's a reason. Yeah, the Americans are many things. The Americans make blunders sometimes, but not blunders like this one. Yeah, this is very deliberate, and there's a very good reason, which we shall dive into very deeply in this particular video. Now, the first very important clue comes from a travel ban issued almost 10 years ago on the same individual, Amos Wako. Indeed, it is still in force, which of course thickens the plot here. Yeah, because why ban somebody who is already banned? In issuing that earlier travel ban on 4th December 2009, the American government gave the reason that the individual had been involved in corrupt actions that adversely affected the national interests of the United States of America. Underline the words, adversely affected the national interests of the US. The point here is that we must never forget that the Americans have no time, yeah, the State Department has absolutely no time to get involved in anything that does not help the interests of the United States of America. Now, I'm well aware of the huge problem we have in Kenya. Yeah, Kenyans greatly admire the United States. They believe the United States is some Boy Scout nation that has nothing better to do than to help Africa, yeah, and to help other poor nations, while totally ignoring their own interests. Wake up, my fellow Kenyans, brothers and sisters. If the Americans suddenly start getting interest in fighting corruption in Africa, and yet they have supported and financed corrupt regimes in Africa over the decades, and still do, then you can be sure, yeah, that now they have something to gain. Yeah, maybe some American interests are being blocked by some certain corrupt individuals. And so for our purposes today, the question must be, what American interests are served banning an old man by digging out an old case from history? Yeah, because Amos Wako is 73 years old. What interest does the United States have in naming this man first before other names? Actually, what interest does Uncle Sam have in ignoring the dam scandal, the NYS scandal, etc., etc., and settling on some old man who can still travel to the United States anyway, even despite that ban? Oh yes, you heard me right. Let me just explain. Now, this ban has been in force since 2009. And in this roughly 10-year period, Bwana Wako has traveled frequently to the United States. And it is because of an arrangement the American government has with the United Nations. If an individual is banned from traveling to the United States, but is involved in some United Nations business, they will travel. Amos Wako is a commissioner, yeah, with the International Law Commission. He's a UN commissioner. And so on that business, he will travel, even today, if he wants. Anyway, the second clue, which supports the first one, is that in 2009, Amos Wako's lawyer applied to the United States government under the Freedom of Information Act to be furnished with all documents related to the Amos Wako ban then. Now, what happened next is just fascinating. First of all, it took over 6 months for a response to come through. Now, that may be normal in Kenya, very normal, but not in the United States. And even when the response came, when the letter came, it said that the US government were unable to provide that information. That is, of course, code for it is a matter of national security. Now, this is getting super interesting, is it not? Now, the third clue here is from history, Most previous US travel bans on prominent Kenyans have been political. Political in the sense that Uncle Sam wants to get something done in Kenya. So what they do is they use what I would term as scare diplomacy. What is scare diplomacy? It is simply this. You want something done by the Kenyan government or by a prominent opposition figure. So what do? You threaten them diplomatically. You know that your target has interest in the United States, must travel to the US frequently. You know that if you ban them, it'll hit them very hard, where it hurts. And you've already asked them for this thing you want, and they've said no. So what do? You ban a close associate, or you ban somebody else. And of course, they'll get the message immediately. So the next thing you do is you pick up the phone and you call them. And suddenly, they start playing ball. Yep, the usual bullying tactics of dear old Uncle Sam. Folks, kunaendanga hivyo. This is not a strong signal of America's strong support for the fight against corruption. No, it is a strong signal to a certain individual or certain individuals to play ball, or else mambo yao itaharibika. Or to put it in another way, this is the latest instance of the Americans getting involved in local Kenyan politics for American national security reasons. That's what it is. And that's not all. I have strong reason to believe that it has something to do with the BBI. Indeed, it is very difficult to delink this latest move from the Building Bridges initiative. And I revealed that shocker in my latest Club 1999 sensitive video. Oh yes, it is super sensitive. And so Club 1999ers can look out for that sensitive video in the inbox. Now, if you're not a member, you can take advantage of our special offer, which is in Kipindi cha Lala Salama. It is ending today. Indeed, the most amazing offer we have ever had. For only $29.99, you become a life member of both Club 1999 and the weekly intelligence briefings. You'll never ever need again to pay for any subscriptions. That figure, of course, translates to only 2,999 Kenya shillings. Just send a blank email to the email address you see on your screens right now and rush, because this thing is ending. But before I go, I can give you some clues. This thing has to do with the deputy president. Oh yes, believe it or not. And indeed you can get a clue if you review history, especially old Kumekucha blog posts. In politics the world over, the really significant things, the really significant game changers take place behind the scenes. And usually, when something comes out in the press, or somebody comes out with a statement, it is already all over. It has already happened. And when the statement comes out, or the news breaks, it is already done. Or when you see certain developments, they are just a manifestation of what is happening behind the scenes. And this is the same the world over. That's the nature of politics. It has always been the nature of politics. It is unfortunate. We still have very many people on this channel, I can tell from the comments in the comments area, who still believe in free lunches. That somebody can actually invite you to a nice lunch in a nice restaurant, and they have absolutely zero interest, zero motive. Wake up. There is nothing in this world like free lunches. There's always a catch. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.